Good evening, everyone. My name is Gord McCall. I'm the Artistic and Executive Director of the Lyric Theatre here in downtown Swift Current, Saskatchewan. It's my pleasure to welcome you tonight to Lyric Digital Stage Write Out Loud number 5, our local writers' night. Just before we get started, I want to remind us, as usual, that we stand on Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Cree, the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect and honor the treaties that were made on all territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we are committed to move forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We also continue to stand in solidarity with all people who are in opposition to oppression, lack of freedom of expression, and the violent suppression of free speech and basic human rights. We stand with members of the Black community, people of color, Indigenous peoples, the Asian community, 2S LGBTQ communities, people with disabilities, and all who experience oppressive marginalization and systemic racism and hatred, including injustice of this nature that occurs in our own country. And now a big Lyric Theatre welcome to Anne Hill, who will be our host for this evening. Take it away, Anne.
Good evening, and welcome to the Write Out Loud Local Writers' Night on the Lyric Digital Stage. My name is Anne Hill, and I'm pleased to welcome everyone on behalf of the Write Out Loud Committee. The committee thanks Gord McCall and everyone at the Lyric Theatre in Swift Current, Saskatchewan for making tonight's event possible. Tonight, we have 4 local writers on our program. Our first writer is Norma Hunter. Norma describes herself as a farm wife, mother of 5 boys, and nanny to 11 amazing grandkids. She is a cinnamon bun making, combine driving, babysitting lady. Norma has written many children's books and has published 3 and is currently working on her first novel. Our second writer tonight is Jill Cavanagh. Jill is a retired teacher, a counselor, and a lay minister at her church. Jill's teaching career in Swift Current touched many lives. She drew on her most important relationships to write the illustrated book, If I Had a Sister, talking about her building of community and finding those special people. Our third writer is Tina Marie Letwiniuk. Tina Marie is an active member of the Prairie Quills Writers Group. She's been an award-winning author since high school, winning a provincial award for her short stories. She's continued writing over the decades, finding inspiration in her life experiences, including her 2015 work, A Walk with Grief, based on the passing of her husband. Her literary interests include memoir, science fiction, and erotica. Our fourth writer tonight is Melanie Larson. Melanie grew up on a ranch by Mancota and now lives by Simi with her husband and 3 boys. She loved growing up outside and hopes that her children find the same fun in it. Melanie uses her family experience to inspire her novels and children's work. For example, Tractor Troubles, using 50 pictures of tractor fails to help her son learn to count to 50. Her family's adventures have also inspired her Barnyard Boys books, including The Day I Lost My Bear in Cypress Hills, based on a true life experience. Melanie loves writing for her children and hopes her writing becomes a favorite for other children too. Thank you to Norma, Jill, Tina Marie, and Melanie for sharing their talents with us tonight, and thank you to you for joining us.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about my love of books and of writing and how it all got started. I was raised my early years in a small hamlet in a 2-room schoolhouse, and I don't ever remember my parents reading to me. But I do remember when Scholastic came to school. And I came flying home with my flyer and begged to be able to buy a book. I was given permission to buy 1 book, and the day that it came, I clutched it and went running downstairs all by myself and read the book from cover to cover. It was called Baby Days. No, Baby Island. Baby Island. I was fascinated. I was drawn in. I was completely enveloped in this island full of babies. And that's when my love for books started. I remember trying to get my hands on every book I could, and I would immerse myself in that world. I would become the main character. I would visualize the place where I lived and the people that I was meeting, and to the point that I got into trouble with my mom because she said, when you're in a book, you don't hear me, you don't listen to anything, you're in another world. Well, she was right. I was. I grew up in Calgary, after that, Calgary, Alberta, and went to a big school there and continued my love for reading. Spent many hours in the library trying to find the books that just suited me to a T, and that was easy to find. Fast forward to back to Shaunavon, Saskatchewan, where I met and married a local farmer and came to the farm and had 5 baby boys, and didn't have a whole lot of time for reading myself, but absolutely loved sitting with them and reading them books. And I so desperately wanted them to have a deep love for books and for words, and have the experience of being carried away to another world just through a book. Well, I had a local library here where I would get historical novels that I just grew to love. And I remember having one in the bathroom all the time, so that every time I had to go to the bathroom by myself, if that was ever possible, or have a bath late in the evening, I would steal away and read a few pages and go back into that world. Well, I continued reading, and my youngest son was a born performer. He loved the stage. He would make a stage wherever it was, and he desperately loved performing. He was involved, all my boys were involved in the local festival. And so my youngest son, we put him into the oratory category. And he just loved saying these poems and expressing what was on the pages. As I looked for material for him to do, I wondered, is there any way I could write something that was designed specially for him, that he could read and recite and act out, that he would love? And so I went to the adjudicator one year and asked if that was a possibility. And she said, absolutely. There's a category for Canadian writers, and you can write your own. Well, that's what I started doing. And I wrote more and more poems for him, and he performed them. And as the years went by, the poems got longer and longer until they were actually books. One day he said to me, when he wasn't doing oratory any longer, he said, Mom, I wish that you would publish one of those books. He said, I think it would be really neat for us as a family and for your grandkids to have a book that Nanny wrote. So that's when my journey started into publishing. I was clueless. Thankfully, I had a very good friend who decided she would help me walk this journey. Her name is Diane Greenlee, and she's a recognized author here in Shaunavon. And she took me under her wing and helped me self-publish my very first book. It was pretty exciting. I had done it without anyone knowing, and it came before Christmas, so I wrapped everyone their own book, and they opened them that Christmas, and the delight on their faces and of course in my heart as they asked me to sit down and read them, the book. My first book was The Messy Room, and it is a story about my youngest son, Ty. He is a wonderful kid, but boy did he have a messy room. So that was in 2013 that I published that first book. I went on to publish 2 more, Cooked Broccoli and then My Oh My, A Snake in the Sky. I'm presently working on a couple of others and on my very first novel, which is a story based on a true story, but filling in all the blanks, as we authors love to do. So if it's okay, I would like to read to you my very first publication, The Messy Room. here it is. It is illustrated by Ben Crane. And here goes. It started when Mum walked through the door and saw my stuff all over the floor. Her eyebrows narrowed, her face turned red. She asked, "Can you even find your bed? You've got junk from one end to the other. You're messy, just like your older brother." Then I thought, cool. I'd like to be just like my brother older than me. Mum said, "Wipe that smile off your face. A room like this is a disgrace. There's candy, books, and what's the deal? A dried up old banana peel? There's dirty socks, and there's your drum, ski boots, a plate, and bubble gum? Your Sunday suit, the dog's old bone, and look, you have the cordless phone." And then she grabbed me by the ear, said, "Clean this mess up now, you hear? If you don't do what you've been told, you're grounded till you're 20 years old." Then from my desk in all the clatter, my big bullfrog jumped right out at her. She fainted there and then, kerbong! I laughed out loud, but not for long. She moaned those words that made me groan, "Just wait until your dad gets home." Then she stomped out and slammed the door and shook loose an old apple core from off the shelf above my bed. It landed right on top of my head. I wanted to go out and play, but to live yet another day, I thought I'd better get a shovel and start to clean up all the rubble. My back grew sore, my arms they ached, and then my legs began to shake. On my head there was some sweat. I was close to fainting then, I bet. I worked so hard, it was no fun, but finally got the job all done. I quickly then made up my mind to make that mess was so unkind. I felt bad making Mum so mad, especially when she told my dad. I'd never do that again, no way, at least until next Saturday. So that's the messy room. I have cooked broccoli and my oh my, a snake in the sky. You can buy them on Amazon or in some of our local businesses here in Shaunavon. My desire is that my grandkids, but not just them, other children will pick up a book like this and will have it read to them or read it themselves, and they'll get lost in the book and they'll decide someday, I want to write a book too. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. First, thanks so much to Diane Miller for asking me to be a part of your Write Out Loud group this evening. I'm a retired teacher and school counselor, and years ago I was part of the Prairie Quills group, but got busy with some other things. But I did manage to contribute to 2 anthologies. The only writing I do now is a gratefulness journal every morning, and as a lay minister at Eastside Church, I sometimes give a message when one of the pastors is away. It causes me a great deal of anxiety to write for that, and yet I really enjoy the challenge. I have also had the privilege of marrying many of the students I taught and writing wedding services, which has been pure joy. I am not a writer. I dabble at it. And the story I'm going to read tonight was formed simply after listening to David Bouchard speak at one of our teacher conventions. I loved his stories. He had a lyrical way of writing, and often about things that were very familiar to him. And that was the approach I took when writing this story. The story moves through the different hairstyles we experienced growing up, as well as the different stages and ages of life. I wrote the story 20 years ago, but took another look at it after hearing the children's one-voice choir sing Memories by Maroon 5. The words just brought up so many friends from my past and even from my present that I was and am thankful for, and here I am. I was adopted into a family with 2 boys and always wanted a sister, and so that's how the story a bit got its start. At age 32, I met my birth mother, who had married my birth dad, and they had 5 more children, and I discovered I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers, but that's another story. So may I read to you my short story written in lyrical form. If I had a sister, I could have braided her hair when breakfast was over. We'd walk hand in hand to school in our matching sweaters singing our favorite songs. If we were generous, we'd let other girls play with us. If not, we'd play jacks in a corner, delighted we had each other. After supper, we'd skate at the outdoor rink, and in the summer, we'd make Coke floats, cinnamon toast, and sleep in the tent in our backyard. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure the time spent in play with Carol and Gloria. If I had a sister, I could have curled her hair with large soup cans to make the curl loose and bouncy. We'd experiment with makeup, learn to jive in our basement, talk in whispers after lights out. We would never, ever like the same boy. After supper, we'd get ready for the school dance. We'd trade sweaters and jeans and promise to leave together. Well, unless Alan asked if he could drive me home. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent in my youth with Isabel, Carol, Verla, Linda, and Sid. If I had a sister, I could have streaked her hair, and she could have streaked mine. We'd prepare for our weddings, looking together for dresses and china. We'd labor over lunch for our husbands-to-be and laugh when the souffle fell with a flop. After supper, we'd talk into the wee hours of the morning about our plans and our dreams and the names of our children. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent planning with Brenda, Isabel, Carol, and Paulette. If I had a sister, I could have permed her hair, and she could have permed mine. We'd have our children close together. When pregnant, we'd horrify our husbands by cooling off in the paddling pool like 2 small hippos. After supper, we'd drive our girls to dance, piano, and music recitals. We'd fill countless photo albums of Sarah and Amy, Kelly, and Jamie. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent raising children with Rebecca. If I had a sister, she could have taken me to the hairdresser and said, "Cut her hair all off." She'd pick out large earrings, flashy clothes, try to make me more exciting. She'd introduce me to wonderful books, like Gone with the Wind. We'd have our youngest children on the same day. She would name her son Rhett and laughingly nickname my girl Scarlett. After supper, she'd stop by with a gift of the rarest kind, something simple that would say, "I know your heart and you know mine." Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent becoming with Betty Allen. If I had a sister, I could have taken her to the hairdresser and said, "Time to cut it all off." I'd give her my recipe for the world's best pot roast. I'd pick out outfits that flattered her shape. She'd introduce me to God. After supper, she'd teach me how to find meaning in the Bible. She'd pray for me and encourage my walk on an exciting new path. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent in prayer with Diane, Dorothy, Sylvia, Linda, and Barb, Nancy, and Elsie. If I had a sister, I could have knit her bright toques to wear when her hair fell out. I'd send her notes and funny cartoons. I'd take her balloons and tiny glass kisses. After supper, I'd organize a fundraiser for cancer. I'd ask everyone I know to play volleyball all through the night. I'd ask God to bless it. A few dollars would become thousands. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent encouraging Brittany and Hillary. If I had a sister, she could have dyed her hair and I could have dyed mine to cover the gray. We'd travel with our husbands to see the Bahamas. We'd plan retirement homes and spend hours watching football to catch a glimpse of her son. After supper, we'd make crafts or play bridge. We'd exchange recipes and plan where we'd celebrate New Year's in the year 2010. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent aging with Dallas, Marg, and Linda. If I had a sister, we could have talked about anything but hair. We'd discuss ideas and authors, grand books and great music. We'd search for meaning during the time we spent together. We'd learn new ways of seeing. After supper, I'd contemplate my new ideas and reflect on the spirit we share. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure that time spent searching with Phyllis, Colleen, and Elsa Marie. If I had a sister, we could have bought hats. We'd wear them to the weddings of each of our children. The more outrageous our hats, the better our time. After supper, we'd appear at the mic singing loudly and a little off key. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent laughing with Vernalyn, Sharon, and Donnelly. If I had a sister, I could see her lose her hair to alopecia, old age, or cancer, leading to wigs, becoming part of our story. See what time has done? We'd gather together at a cabin with our wounds and our joy to rest, reflect, read, walk on trails, play golf, and find peace in each other and the memories we have gained along the way. After supper, we'd show pictures and tell stories of our kids and grandkids, enjoy some wine and cards. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure time spent at Cypress Hills and Emma Lake with Isla, Diane, Sharon, Kathy, Betty Ann, Audrey, and Paulette. If I had a sister, we'd find each other beautiful, no matter the color or cut of each other's hair. She'd be a kaleidoscope of all the women I've grown with in life. She'd touch me, pull me, stretch me, shape me. After supper, I'd accept that the friends I've lost and gained are exactly the way God meant my life to be. I'd realize that I've had sisters all along. Although I don't have a sister, I treasure the memories of time spent in friendship with those that I love. A closing quote by Charlotte Gray: "We persuade ourselves we've learned a lot from life, are wiser now, but still our sisters smile and nod and see us as we are, age 6 in disguise." And from Rebecca Wells from The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood: "Some women pray for their daughters to marry good husbands. I pray that my daughters will find girlfriends half as loyal and true as the Yayas." All the names in the stories are true, as are all the situations. I find it easiest to write about people and things I know. Thank you for letting me share my story tonight, and thank you for so many who have supported me on this journey. I am very grateful.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Lyric Theatre's Write Out Loud program, featured on YouTube. I am grateful to all the behind-the-scenes people who put in their time to make this event continue via technology while we wait for live events to start up again. As a new member of the Write Out Loud committee, I am getting a feel for everything that is involved in making this event a success each month. Thank you, Terry, Diane, Jackie, and Anne, as well as to Gord, who engineers these recordings so that you, our audience, can enjoy the art of writing through the author's voice. My name is Tina Marie, and I am a proud member of the local writers group, Prairie Quills, which holds an annual reading at the Swift Current Library. This past November, we were able to hold our event live with mandated restrictions to an audience of 25 people.
The theme of the reading was bumper humor, and as usual, with the variety of member perspectives, each of us delivered a unique piece relating to bumper stickers. The story I wrote is called Vision of Forgiveness. Hello, my name is Mark, and I'm an alcoholic. So it wasn't my idea to be up here sharing, but my sponsor Tom figures that it would be good for me to talk about how I came to be in these rooms. My brother and me, we were very close since we were little. His name's Brian, by the way. And even though he was a couple of years younger than me, he always looked after me, even more than my older brothers and sisters did. He always knew what the right thing to do was. Oh, sure, we got into our fair share of double trouble, as our mom used to say, but the fights we had were always short-lived because we were best buddies. Anyway, he was top-notch in school, handsome, athletic, just a good guy, you know. After he graduated with honors, he got a full-time job to start saving for college. He knew exactly what he wanted from life, and he went after it. Me? Well, I was still into partying, I guess. Just couldn't seem to get the idea of growing up. Life was all about having fun and drinking and getting high sometimes even. But alcohol gave me a set of rose-colored glasses that I just didn't want to take off. I lost job after job after job, usually because I would show up late or hungover or both. Not even show up at all. Thing is, Brian was getting tired of always picking me up from some random bar, especially with having to work the next morning. I didn't realize how much I was using him for rides, or to save me from bar fights, or call my work and make up some lame excuse as to why I was going to be late. Hell, he even bailed me out of jail. Didn't even tell Mom. I knew how hard that was for him, but he never told our secret. Anyway, 6 years ago, I called him to pick me up from Ralph's, a local bar not too far from our house. Could have walked, I suppose, but I was used to calling my little bro to save me, you know. I know I woke him up, and I know he had to work the early shift in the morning, but I still called him. And like he always did, he picked me up. He was so mad. I never seen him that mad. His words were sharp, and he scolded me like I was 2 years old. "Never again," he yelled at me. "You're going to have to find your own way home from now on, because this is the last time I will ever pick you up." And you know what? It was. Because no sooner did he say those words that we were T-boned in an intersection. We were only a few blocks from home, damn it, and Brian was killed. And I didn't even get a flippin' broken bone. Sorry. Haven't talked about this with anyone except my sponsor, you know. How could I? If I had only walked home, Brian would still be alive. I couldn't handle it, and my drinking went out of control. Couldn't stop, and I didn't want to, neither. Anyway, I drank myself to blackouts, and the years passed with hardly no memory of nothing. Except the accident. Every year since then, Mom and Sibs would get together to remember Brian. And every year I would show up in the same condition I was that night, you know. I didn't see how much my drinking was hurting them, and what's really shitty is I didn't even care. I was so lost in my own pain, and I had no idea how to find my way out. Last year, Mom told me I wasn't welcome at the memorial unless I was sober. Shit, I figured even showing up drunk was still showing up, but she put her foot down. Anyway, my hangover that morning was especially bad, and usually a beer or 2 or 3 would take the edge off. But I wanted to be there, damn it. It had been 5 years since the accident, and I really wanted to be there. So I took my hangover and my coffee, and I got in the car and I started driving. And that's when the memories started again. Brian's anger, and the last words I ever heard him say. Oh my God, I had to shut those memories off. And then I remembered the 3/4 bottle of whiskey in the glove box. For emergencies, I had told myself. Well, this was an emergency, and I fished it out and I took a long drink. I felt the burn as it went down my throat, and the calmness that followed. I can do this. Mom will never know I had one drink. Ha! 1 drink. By the time I got into town, Mom's ultimatum was long gone, and that 1 drink ended up being an empty bottle on the seat beside me. I had the start of a real nice buzz going on. Then I pulled up behind a truck with a bumper sticker that said, "I brake for hallucinations." Oh my God, I freaking busted out laughing. I knew exactly what that was all about. I mean, damn, how many times had I seen something or other during one of my binges that may or may not have been real. And then everything happened so fast. I was still laughing so hard, I didn't even notice that the light had turned green and the bumper sticker truck had moved forward. I was just about to step on the gas when I looked ahead, and there was Brian, plain as day. He was maybe 50 feet away, but I heard his voice as if he were sitting right next to me. "It's okay," he said. "I forgive you." A moment later, a truck barreled through the intersection and would have hit me square on if the sight of my little brother hadn't stopped me. Oh my God, I barely got the door open to vomit. The whiskey, the coffee, the memories, the vision of Brian. And then I called my mom to come pick me up because I knew I needed help. Anyway, that was a year ago. And since then I've worked through some of the steps, and I'm learning how to live a sober life. It sucks sometimes, but lately I keep thinking about the driver that hit us. It's actually becoming an obsession, and it's getting to the point where I gotta let it go and learn forgiveness. I gotta learn forgiveness, I guess, to stay sober, because damn it, it's eating me up. I think I'm done now. My story may sound far-fetched, but I know what I saw, and I know Brian saved me from being hit. And I know there's a reason, I just don't know what that reason is. Thanks for letting me share. Everyone in the room is quiet, and I hear murmurs of "Thank you, Mark," and applause, lots of applause. I sit beside Tom, completely drained from this entire experience. I want fresh air, and as soon as the meeting is over, I escape the room, whispering to him that I needed to get outside. A woman I recognize from the meeting and whom I've seen in the room off and on before approaches me. God, I just want to be left alone. But before I could walk away, she says, "My name is Marilyn. And I was the one who hit you and your brother. I'm so sorry." Her sobs of sorrow feel like waves crashing into me, just like the car hitting me and Brian. I put my hand up to make it clear that I don't want to talk to her. And she steps back as if I hit her, hesitates, then walks away. I'm stunned. I can't breathe and everything is spinning. I had to sit down. And then the anger seizes me. My knuckles are white from clenching the big book. Not just from anger, but from rage. So intense I can barely hang on. It's getting to the point where I gotta let it go and find forgiveness, I guess. To stay sober. I had said my own solution barely half an hour ago, and for the second time I heard my brother's voice. "I forgive you." Looking up, I see the woman is almost out of sight, and I know exactly what I have to do. "Marilyn! Marilyn, wait!" Thank you. Over the years, I've learned that most stories have a structure that involves a beginning, middle, and end with descriptions of settings and characters and a storyline that holds everything together. In my mind, those are the bare basics of creating a written piece. And the challenging part for me is to bring a story to life, so it unfolds organically. And there have been many stories I've written that are well received, and yet from me as the author, it felt like there was always something missing. When I started writing Vision of Forgiveness, I had the story's structure in place in my head. I knew the characters, I knew where the story was taking place, I knew the beginning, middle, end. As I was writing it, Mark took on a life of his own. His personality grew. I could see him clearly in my head, and then I could hear him, his language and way of speaking. He suddenly became the one telling his story rather than me. I knew where I wanted the story to go and what the point I wanted to convey was, that sometimes it's these types of visions and synchronicities that steer us in ways we don't completely understand, but have such a profound impact on our lives that we never forget them, and they change us forever. And so it is with Mark's story. It will always be the story when I let go of my expectations and insecurities as a writer and allowed the story to unfold just as it should. Now, I'm quite lucky to have a support group of accomplished writers, such as the Prairie Quills, to help me learn the basics of writing, but more importantly, to encourage me to keep writing. If you have an interest in writing, we would be happy for you to join us. We meet via Zoom, for now, on the third Tuesday of every month. You can find us on Facebook at Prairie Quills Writers Group, or you can send us an email at prairiequills@gmail.com. Please consider joining our group and exploring the world of writing to find your voice, whether it's in writing or speaking, to learn more about yourself, the people around you, your characters. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melanie Larson, and I'm a children's picture book author from southern Saskatchewan. I live on a farm with my husband and our 3 children. We farm and we raise coon pigs, and I also work as an environmental consultant besides writing children's books. I started creating children's books 4 years ago in 2018. The very first book that I created is called Count Them 50 Tractor Troubles, a counting, spelling, and safety book. This book uses funny, real-life pictures of tractors in precarious situations. I made this book when my son was learning to count to 50 and I could not find any books for him. Most books only count to 10. So I thought what would be interesting enough for him to hold his attention to count all the way to 50, and that's why I chose Tractors in Trouble. So along with counting to 50, children can also learn how the numbers are spelled. And the other thing that I hope this book achieves is to start conversations about farm safety and why these things happened and what they could have been done differently. So that's my Count Them 50 Tractor Troubles book. And since my first book was so popular with kids and adults, I created 2 more books in this series. I made the Alphabet in Construction Troubles, A to Z in upper and lowercase letters. Similar to my counting book, the alphabet book uses funny real-life pictures to show the upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet, like R for rock or W for wheel. And my third book in the Educational Tractors book series is called The Colors in Tractor Troubles, a search and find colors book. And it's a similar concept to my other 2 books in the series. Children can learn their colors using funny tractor pictures. In 2019, I released my first illustrated book called The Day I Lost My Bear in Cypress Hills, Adventures of the Barnyard Boys. This book is loosely based on a true story of when my family and I were staying in Cypress Hills. We went hiking and my youngest son insisted on bringing his blankie. He dropped it somewhere on the trail. Later that night at bedtime, he realized it was missing, so it was imperative it was found before he could sleep. So this book follows 3 brothers, Owen, Finn, and Des, as they have a fun-filled day in Cypress Hills. They go to swimming lessons, they go to the beach, they are all over Cypress Hills, and at bedtime, Finn realizes that his bear that goes everywhere with him has been lost somewhere in Cypress Hills. So Finn and his mom go out looking for the bear to find it. And they do find it on a hiking trail that they were at earlier in the day. So it's a happy ending for Finn in Cypress Hills. And on the last page, children are asked to go back through the book and search for animals that are native to Cypress Hills and find them somewhere in the book. So for example, like a moose or a cormorant, kids can look for those throughout the book. And this book is also, it's fun. It's a book about persevering to find something that's missing, and it's educational because children can learn about the animals that call Cypress Hills Provincial Park home. So last spring, I released the second book in the Adventures of the Barnyard Boys book series. It's called The Day I Discovered a Dinosaur Bone. And this book follows the 3 brothers again, and they are very interested in all things dinosaur. The 3 boys are determined to find their very own dinosaur bone. So they are looking in their backyard, they're looking at the beach, and finally, during a visit to their grandparents' ranch, Finn finds something that might actually be a fossil. They decide to take it to one of Saskatchewan's famous dinosaur museums to find out exactly what Finn has discovered. This book is full of facts about dinosaur research in Saskatchewan. For example, the first dinosaur bone found in Canada was actually found in Saskatchewan. and that was found in the Killdeer Badlands. And again, at the end, there's a search page for animals, and some of the animals that we see nowadays, like a chicken, are actually descendants of dinosaurs. So kids can go back and look for those animals throughout the book, and lots of fun facts about dinosaur research in Saskatchewan. So I have a third book in the Adventures of the Barnyard Boys book series. It is called The Day Petunia Had Piglets in the Strawberry Patch. And it's all about baby animals born on the farm each spring. So that is going to be coming out this spring. So I thought I would read it. It's still being worked on. It's still being edited. And I haven't started the illustrations yet. I'm having my illustrator draw them, but I will read my book. So it's called The Day Petunia Had Piglets in the Strawberry Patch. Hi, my name is Finn, and I am 6 years old. This is my big brother Owen and my little brother Des. We just adopted a pig named Petunia. Petunia used to live at a petting zoo. Her owners couldn't keep her anymore because she was getting too big. So now Petunia lives with us on our farm in Saskatchewan. Petunia is a coon pig. She has a very short snout and she grazes grass similar to a cow or a horse. She follows us everywhere and she loves to eat the sweet fruit growing in the strawberry patch. Mom doesn't like it when Petunia sneaks out of her pen and eats all our strawberries. Petunia is so cute, right, Mom? I asked. Petunia is growing bigger and rounder every day. She sleeps a lot and she snores in her sleep and sometimes she farts. She's just like Dad when he sleeps, Des laughed. One spring morning we went to feed Petunia, but she wasn't in her pig pen. That's strange. Petunia never misses her breakfast, I said. My brothers and I set out to find Petunia. We didn't want to miss her yummy apple cores and banana peels. She couldn't have gone far. Let's look around the farm, I said. First I ran to the donkey pen because Petunia likes to play with the donkeys. There was a brand new baby donkey with his mommy, but no Petunia the pig. Hello, Dolly. Welcome, baby donkey. Next, Owen checked the horse stable. There were 2 baby foals with their mom, Izzy. Owen yelled, Izzy had twins, but Petunia was nowhere to be found. Then Owen checked upstairs in the stable. Can pigs even climb stairs? He wondered. Petunia wasn't there, but Owen found our cat Rosie with 6 baby kittens. Petunia loves to eat goat's food, so maybe she's near the goat pen. Des found 3 goat kids with their mommy and daddy, but no Petunia the pig. These kids are just as playful as my kids, Mom laughed. You better check the cow pasture. We have 4 new baby calves, Dad exclaimed. Petunia the pig wasn't there either. Where could she be? Des looked near the doghouse and counted 5 new puppies. Wow, there are so many new baby animals to count on the farm, Des said. We haven't checked the chicken coop yet. Petunia wasn't there, but I discovered 7 newly hatched chicks. Remember to watch out for that mean rooster while you search for Petunia, Mom warned me. Suddenly, we heard soft grunts and loud snorts coming from the strawberry patch. There was only one place left to look for Petunia, her favorite strawberry patch. There she was. But she was not alone. Petunia had 8 baby piglets. Wow, Petunia, we didn't even know you were pregnant. That explains why your tummy was getting so big, I exclaimed. We moved Petunia and her 8 happy piglets back to their pen. Petunia is a good mommy pig, and her piglets will grow up to be just like her. We can't wait to show Grandma and Grandpa our new piglets and all our new baby animals on the farm. So like my other 2 illustrated books, I have a search page at the end of the book for kids to go back and look for animals. And the search page is more about how each animal has a job on the farm. So there'll be a search for things like we provide food for people to eat, like a cow or a chicken, animals that help protect the farm, like a dog or a cat, and animals that provide wool for people to make clothes with, like alpacas and sheep. So that is the day Petunia had piglets in the strawberry patch. It's still being worked on, so hopefully that comes out this spring, and hopefully it becomes a favorite for some kids, I'm hoping. And anyways, thank you so much for listening to me talk about my books today. I'm hoping that kids are still liking them. I have gotten a lot of good feedback about my books, so hopefully that keeps happening. And if you are interested in finding my books, I have a website called www.mlarsonbooks.com. And I have a list of vendors on there. So there's stores all over Saskatchewan and some in Alberta and some in Manitoba that carry my books. So please check me out, or also on Facebook and Instagram under M. Larson Books Sask. Thank you.